Harleys are leaky pieces of full stop. But is that true? Most people think Harleys leak because they're made like but once you understand the facts, you'll see Harleys for what they really are. So right now, I'm gonna break down why and how Harley got the leaky reputation. We're gonna separate the facts from the fiction and what you should really be concerned about if you are considering a Harley. You've heard it 1,000 times.
Harleys are antiquated pieces of crap that leak more oil than the Exxon Valdez. You know what, bro? If it's not leaking, it's not a real Harley.
Now, where this started, I have no freaking clue, but one thing is absolutely certain. A lot of older Harleys have a reputation for leaks. But are all Harleys doomed to be a greasy leak fest? Or is there some factual info behind all this spiker folklore?
Well, I have 1 million results that say they don't, and 1 result that says they do.
Well, let's find out. So just imagine, you park your Harley, you come back the next morning, and it's had a wee accident. Didn't even tell you it needed to go potty. Now, it's not a huge puddle, just enough to make you go,
here we go again.
And if you've owned one for a while, you've probably wiped this exact spot off your garage floor more times than you'd like to admit. So does this happen to everyone? And if so, why? Well, Harleys, especially older ones, let's say pre-2000-ish for this conversation, have a reputation for marking their territory. It actually comes down to how these engines are designed to handle pressure. Inside your engine, you've got pistons moving up and down. Every time that happens, you're building crankcase pressure. Basically air and oil mist getting pushed around inside the motor. That pressure has to go somewhere, or it'll start forcing oil past seals and gaskets. And then it's just diarrhea town. Now, on a lot of older Harley engines, that pressure is managed through what's called a bottom breather system, meaning instead of venting that pressure cleanly out through the top of the engine, as most all modern engines do, for example, a VT600, that pressure is getting routed down through the lower end. The breather gear tries to time those pulses and vent them out, and tends to carry oil with it. So instead of just air escaping to the atmosphere and your ride going as planned, you're getting this oily mist that finds its way out, giving your jeans and the rest of your bike that real cool Hawaiian tropic greased up look. That's where a lot of these mystery leaks actually come from. Here's the problem though, and this is where people get it wrong. These engines aren't just dealing with pressure, they're also dealing with heat cycles, vibration, and a ton of gasket surfaces stacked on top of each other. You've got rocker boxes, head gaskets, base gaskets, all expanding and contracting constantly. So now combine that with a system that's already pushing oily air around inside the motor, and over time that oil is gonna find the weakest point and start seeping out. Here's the kicker. Even when everything is working exactly as designed, you can still get oil misting out of breathers or lightly sweating from gaskets. So now you've got 2 types of leaks happening. One is caused by normal engine behavior, one's caused by actual failure. But from the outside, they can look almost identical. So the real reason these bikes leak isn't just bad quality or sloppy engineering, it's a combination of how these older models manage crankcase pressure, how the engine's built, and how all those components age over time. Which means, some of what you're seeing is completely normal, but some of it is your engine trying to tell you something's wrong. And the next part, I'm gonna show you how to tell the difference, because this is where most people either waste money fixing absolutely nothing, just throwing at a wall, hoping something sticks, or they ignore a problem that's about to get very expensive. And I've done both. So what's true? What's fiction? Are Harleys in 2026 leaking nightmares, or is it just the ones from the AMF years? So let's clear this up. First, not every Harley on the planet has problematic leaks, but a lot of the older models have inherent weaknesses that have been improved upon in later years. But not all leaks are equal, and this is where we kill the myths with education. See, not every leak is a disaster. There are a few really common situations where oil showing up is more of a byproduct to how the engine works than something actually failing. First one, breather mist. If you're seeing a light coating of oil around your air cleaner, breather bolts, or the top end of the engine, that can be just oil vapor getting pushed out with crankcase pressure. It condenses, collects dust, and suddenly it looks like a leak. But it's not coming from a blown gasket or a catastrophic failure. Second is gasket sweating. This is when you get a slightly damp or darkened area around a gasket, but it's not actively dripping. No drops hitting the ground, no buildup, just a little film. On older engines especially, that can go on for a long time without turning into anything serious. And third, after shutdown drips. You ride the bike, you park it, and then maybe a drop or two shows up later. What's happening is oil that's already worked its way into seams or surfaces, it's just settling after the engine cools down. Here's where people trip over their own dong though. They either panic and start tearing the engine apart over something harmless, or they ignore everything because they've heard Harleys just leak. And the line between those two, it's thinner than that sassy negligee your mom likes to wear for them. Because even those normal situations I just mentioned can turn to real problems if the amount increases, the amount of oil, or it turns into an active drip, or it starts showing up in new areas. Now, a light mist today can become a real leak 6 months from now. And if you're not paying attention, you won't catch it when it crosses that line into the danger zone. Now, if you love that danger zone, join the conversation on the forum where myself and other riders are answering your dangerous questions. I'll drop the link below. So if it's a light film, a little mist, or an occasional drop after a ride, you're usually fine. Clean it up, keep an eye on it, and move on. But let's just say it isn't just a mist. When should you actually be concerned? You pull back in your driveway, you shut the bike off, feeling very sexy and cool on your sick bike. And this time, it's not just a light film of oil. There's a fresh drop forming, and then another. And you can actually watch it hit the ground in time to the Bee Gees. Which it appears your bike is not going to stay alive. Now it's not, is this normal anymore? It's, hell, what the broken now? You ever had this happen? I wanna hear about it. Tell me in the comments when you had your oh no moment and what you did to fix that leak. Maybe I can help you repair your entire motorcycle from the comments section. Nah. So let's talk about the leaks that are not okay. The ones that mean you need to stop riding before this turns into a much bigger problem. First, active dripping while the engine is running or immediately after. If oil is coming out fast enough that it's forming drops in real time, that ain't mist. That's not sweating. That's oil escaping under pressure. Second, base gasket or head gasket leaks. If you are seeing oil coming from between the cylinders and the cases or around the head area, and it's building up or running down the engine, that's a sealing failure. You might even be able to hear that. That doesn't fix itself. It only gets worse. Now, by hearing it, I mean you might hear a as that pressure's leaking out. Now, third is oil showing up in places it shouldn't be. Down on your exhaust, burning off and smoking, or worse, getting onto your rear tire or brakes. That's not just an engine oil leak issue anymore. That's a safety problem. And fourth, sudden changes. If your bike went from a little damp to now it's leaving little spots everywhere, something changed internally. Pressure, sealing, something. And that's your warning sign to pull your head out of your and get a Honda.
What a twist!
I'm just kidding. Now here's the dangerous part. A lot of riders will see this happening and think, I'll just keep riding it for a bit, it's probably fine. But these older Harley engines don't usually fail all at once. They do give you warnings. And leaks like this are one of the biggest ones and easy to spot. Because once oil is escaping at that copious level, you are dealing with loss of lubrication, rising engine temperatures, and parts that are no longer properly sealed. So what starts as just a little leak can turn into warped components, internal wear and tear, a lot of damage inside, or a full teardown or rebuild if you ignore it long enough. So here's the line you don't cross. If it's actively dripping, building up fast, or showing up in critical areas, you stop riding and figure it out. So no guessing, no hoping and dreaming, it's definitely a problem. And that's part of the fun of owning these cool old machines, is that you get to understand them and learn how to repair them yourself. They're not that complicated, because the difference between a cheap fix and a blown engine can be how long you waited before the leak got serious. And at that point, the bike's not just being annoying anymore. It's literally begging for mouth to mouth, and you just have to listen, baby. Harleys aren't just leaky nightmares. That's just the reputation talking. Yeah, some of that came from real issues that were pretty sucky. And yes, if you buy a used bike, you really have no idea how it was treated or if some troglodyte got in there and screwed up. But Harley spent years improving sealing, the breathing, and overall design. It might have taken some time, but they are clearly trying to change both the bikes and how people see them. Now, old Harleys don't just leak. They communicate in hopes and dreams and greasy feelings. Knowing which leaks are normal, which ones matter, and which ones mean shut it down before it gets expensive, let's keep these machines on the road. Now, if your Harley's leaking, it's either harmless or it's a freaking red alert. But now you know the difference before it drains your wallet. If you love seeing me pay the price, then find out what I learned from my failures, hit that subscribe button.